I am a student of class 12th and I hate studying. Now, hate is a pretty strong word, and when I say I hate studying, I don't really hate studying, but what it really is in India. Let me give you a bit of backstory. I am fresh out of class 10th. I am coming off one of the best years of my life, physically, academically, and socially. With the year being so good, I carried the momentum over to the next year in 11th. I want to do research, not sure in what, but I had a few things in mind like physics or biotechnology. The first half of the academic year was a breeze. I studied with grit and want, not caring about J or anything, but just studying for the knowledge and curiosity. Then the next half of the year kicked in. My teachers and peers started noticing that I was doing the things I was supposed to do. I was studying, not preparing. It was mostly my teachers and grown-ups around me. My peers actually supported me a ton. So they start steering me away from what I was doing, exploring towards the more conventional route of preparing. Now it is important to realize that it is not the fault of the people around me. They simply wanted the best for me, or at least what they thought was the best for me. It was mostly the system and the culture surrounding education in our country which is at blame here. In fact, most of the people around me actually supported me pursuing research. So, fighting my way through the year, I reached class 12. Now, the pressure of preparing was dialed up exponentially. Coaching teachers called home regularly to make sure I was studying properly, regular mock tests, and demotivating sessions by the coaching head. This was partially the reason I started hating studying, or what it was really like in India, and the reason I switched my career aspirations from research to civil engineering, which I will refuse to elaborate further because, well, here's my first point. Indian grown-ups are obsessed with children. Now, you might wonder, that's a weird statement to make. Grown-ups? Well, remember I said that most grown-ups around me supported my decision to pursue a career in research. Well, they are partially the reason for my switch. They were obsessed with me pursuing research. Ever since the internet has come into the mainstream in India and all uncles and aunties have gained access to unlimited amount of information, the amount of piece of shit diabolical advice has also grown tremendously. Now, most uncles and aunties are aware of the 15 lakh aspirants of JEE everywhere and the toppers' hours of study and their methods of study and so on and so forth. This results in so much pressure being put on a student, not intentionally, unintentionally by the way, of any age really, about studying from a young age to choosing a subject in 11th, preparing for competitive exams in 12th, and further college. Kids in India cannot live their lives without feeling the need to hide it from the parents, or cannot live their lives, period. I remember at a point of time, every single conversation I was having was either about college or studying. Being exhausted by this, most teens I've seen just start to act out and distance themselves from the parents because they feel they are not being heard, which is partially true. And part of this is also due to the growth of coaching culture in India, but that's a whole another video in itself. But do feel free to write your thoughts in the comment section below. Social media, here I will mostly talk about Instagram, is now the source of majority of the information and content we Indians consume. And this influence is not only limited to students, but also the grown-up society which is supposed to guide the students. The influence of social media on teens is discussed excessively in media in recent times, but I have seen a few points missing in this type of content. The videos on this topic generally talk about social media being a distraction or a bad influence, but really I want to talk about the comparative and competitive nature of these platforms. A student of class 12th who is fortunate enough to even have a social media account is force fed content of his or her supposed peers living a better life than them, going to concerts, getting jacked, smashing academically, and it has the same or even greater effect than that of societal and cultural problems that I've talked about before. But the same is true for adults too, only in their perspective, other children are doing so much better than them and there being so much competition and wanting the best for their children, they tend to obsess over one aspect of their teen's life instead of a more holistic approach, which is always better in the long term. Like, always. The biggest lie or trap is that work hard now and then you won't have to work hard later on in life, which is some of the biggest BS I have ever heard. Let's take an example. Let's suppose throughout your schooling you have prevailed in academics, but you lack severely in communication skills and physical health. Sure, you won't have to study as much, but later in your life, you will have to catch up to the communication skills or physical health. And after you've grown up, it will be significantly harder to learn these things than it is in childhood or teen years. While taking a holistic approach, you can still lead a balanced life later on while putting in equal or even less efforts. And I don't think this is quite talked about in media these days and has led to such a short term vision of the population as a whole, really. Now, I can go endlessly on about how the system is broken or the society and culture around education is shit. But what's the point in that? Broadly, everyone knows what's wrong, but nobody can fix this because these things don't happen instantly. These things take time and community effort, which is mostly absent. But at least I see things moving in the right direction with the new education policy of 2020, which is a good thing. But as a student or an adult, it is our responsibility to fix this system and the culture so our students will be able to study and not whatever they are doing right now.